We are here today to remember the life of a great man, George William Poteat. George was an inspiration to many, and he will be greatly missed. We are here to cherish the memories of a soldier, a community leader, a loving father and husband, and a good friend. I came to know George through a mutual friend, his daughter Cindy. I contacted Cindy after joining a program at my school called Adopt a Grandfather. Long story short, my newly adopted grandparent was Cindy's father, George William Poteat. As I began to spend time with George at his 92 years young, I realized that this man was living history. You see, he served in World War II and had many stories to tell about his experiences. Though he couldn't remember the events that happened just the day before, he could vividly recall the events that happened in service to our country. George served in the Army Air Corps, which would later be known as the Air Force. George was a pilot flying dangerous missions into enemy territory. As a bomber pilot, George has seen combat in many foreign lands. He was staunchly patriotic and would often talk about the places he had been and the things he had seen. He could remember every detail as if he was reliving the experience. He was a true American hero, brave and willing to risk his life for our country. As I came to spend more time with George, I realized how intelligent the man was. Before serving his country, George attended NC State University, graduating in the 1930s. This was no small feat for a small-town boy in this time period when most of his friends were off working in the farms or in textile mills. He studied engineering, a field that would benefit him in both the Army Air Corps and in his career as a textile plant engineer. Perseverance and a strong mind paid off, literally, for George. George was not only smart and a hard worker, he was also quite the ladies' man. He married his high school sweetheart, Dot, and was a model father to their 4 children. George raised his family in the town that he called home as a child. As his children grew, he encouraged them to pursue their dreams, and he was a kind and loving father. After the war, George worked at Spindale Mills, starting as an entry-level weaver. George's intelligence and his work ethic were soon noticed by his superiors. Given increasingly important roles, George worked his way up to be plant engineer. This was one of the most important jobs in the company, and George did it well. Again, his work ethic gave him opportunities for leadership and service to others. George was not only a war hero, a family man, and an outstanding person, he was also a pillar of his community. He was active in his church, First Baptist of Rutherford, and he was on the board of deacons there. He volunteered many hours for service projects and helped many of his neighbors in his community. Many people admire George for his humble demeanor and his willingness to help others. Even in his final days in the nursing home, George enjoyed entertaining the fellow residents with his harmonica and singing, and he also enjoyed flirting with the ladies. George was a fine man and will be missed by all who knew him. We take comfort from the fact that he's walking the streets of heaven with his beloved wife, Dot, and he's no doubt looking for ways to serve others.